Thank you for tuning in to Being Brunswick with the Brunswick County Chamber. I'm your host, Megan Bishop. I would first like to thank my sponsors, Surf Unlimited and Dane Delane Salon in Ocean Isle Beach. You'll be able to see my different trends throughout the show. We have a special show this month. We'll be featuring Bird Island, the Kindred Spirit mailbox, and the Ocean Isle Beach Sea Turtle Protection Organization. Today we are here at a very special part of Brunswick County. We are here in Bird Island and visiting the Kindred Spirit mailbox. So many people have such fond memories of walking to Bird Island from Sunset Beach or boating from another island. I remember driving the jet skis with my family from Ocean Isle to Bird Island. We would walk barefoot to the mailbox and leave a letter every summer. Those are very special memories. For those of you that may not know what the Kindred Spirit is or haven't had the chance to experience, we are going to show you just how special it is. The mailbox was created over 30 years ago by Frank Nesmith, his girlfriend and Jack DeGroot. They left a journal and hoped that it would be a place to share your feelings. Today, the Kindred Spirit mailbox is a community mailbox that holds and protects journal writings, thoughts, fears, hopes, dreams, grief, and so much more for those that visit. Some think more than 100,000 people have visited the mailbox over the years. The Kindred Spirit mailbox has been featured in the Our State magazine, CBS News, and many other media sources. The mailbox started at Tubbs Inlet and then was later moved to Bird Island in 1983. If you have never visited Bird Island or the Kindred Spirit mailbox, picture this. A wooden bench, black mailbox, backed up beside the dunes, waiting on you to share your thoughts and make your own memory of the Kindred Spirit mailbox. I know I have made some special memories here at the mailbox. Here with Trip Purcell. Thank you so much for joining me at the Sunset Beach Park today.
Thanks for the invitation.
We are out talking about the Kindred Spirit mailbox and the story behind that, the history, talking about Bird Island and all of that. So I really wanted you here to talk about your special book that I have loved for years and years. You wrote Sunset Beach, A Spirited Love Story. And like I said, I've absolutely loved this book, and I think anyone that is local or loves Brunswick County should read this book. Yeah. So you wrote it about 20 years ago, correct?
That's right, yeah, it came out in May of 1996.
Wow. Well, tell us a little bit about, before you tell us a little bit about the details of the book, how did you find the idea to write this book?
Well, I was here on vacation, my wife and I and kids, and then we had some other friends who rented a house on Sunset Beach, and we were staying at a house on 40th Street, which is where a lot of the book takes place, there in the beach and so forth. And my friend's wife, who stayed for 6 weeks, came down and parked at this house that was right across the street from us. And she said she met the owner, and he said she could park there, you know, to save her time because she was staying at the back of the island. And anyway, it just kind of started from there, started thinking about it, and we'd be walking on the beach, and I'd say something. My wife is a very avid reader, and she was an English teacher for 31 years. And I used to work in newspapers and got a journalism degree. So I always wanted to write a book, and just got the idea and then started on it. Actually, I think we were there in July, and I started on Labor Day and finished the next year, Memorial Day. And then it took about a year to get it published and that sort of thing.
And it's been around for a long time, and it's in all the local bookstores. So just it sounds like it kind of just all fell into place and really worked as a great love story. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the book.
Okay.
Tell me some details about the book, so some of our viewers, if they have not read it, tell them a little bit about the book.
The book's based on a woman who's down here for 6 weeks at Sunset Beach on vacation with her mother-in-law and her 2 children, and her husband comes periodically on weekends, things like that, but he's a medical doctor in a small town in eastern North Carolina, and so he doesn't get down all that much. And she has friends that stop in and different things like that, and the kids have friends. But while she's on vacation, she meets a guy who she actually knew from college, and he's single, and they start talking and going on a walk every morning. It's sort of the premise of how their relationship started, and eventually it blossoms into a little bit more. So,
if I remember correctly, do they write letters to each other?
No, they wrote letters at the mailbox to the Kindred Spirit, but it was sort of like writing to the other person as well. So yeah, they would walk to the mailbox and read letters, and then finally wrote some letters to the Kindred Spirit. So, you know, and I got real interested in that because we went down there several times and looked at the letters, and I actually met Frank, who started it, and he was very nice, and so it was just an interesting thing. And you know, they still had the old bridge, the swing bridge, so it was really Sunset Beach was such a quaint place, and the combination of the bridge and the beautiful beach there, and then Bird Island being next door, and so it just made for
very special.
Made for a nice setting for almost any kind of book.
Absolutely.
You know? It's a
Ended
great
up being a
place.
good love story though at Sunset Beach.
Yeah.
Well, Trip, what does Sunset Beach, Bird Island, Kindred Spirit mailbox, what does that mean to you and your family?
Well, it's something we've always enjoyed, going there and seeing the mailbox and that sort of thing. Even though a year later, after the book came out, we bought a house here, but actually at Ocean Isle Beach.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of people have asked me, why did you go to Ocean Isle instead of Sunset Beach? But just for several different factors, and we love it over there too. But
as long as you're in Brunswick County, right?
Yeah, and we're really so fortunate in Brunswick County to have the type of beaches that we have. They're just beautiful all the way up from you know, Bald Head Island all the way down to Sunset, and of course Bird Island, part of it being in North Carolina. Was glad that they finally, the state took over the North Carolina part of Bird Island. I think South Carolina had owned the South Carolina part for some time, and so that'll stay preserved and that sort of thing. I think
we hope it continues another 30 years of the mailbox. So when's the last time you went down to the mailbox?
Probably about 5 years ago. Yeah, it's probably been about 5 years ago.
I talk about on the show that, you know, I go down probably once a year, and I always write that letter, and it's just, you have memories. I have memories from my childhood, and it's so special. So I think it's great that, and I hope people continue to write books about Sunset Beach, Ocean Isle, and all our beaches in the county. So and then we can talk about it, you know, another 30 years from now about a different love story and a different story on Kindred Spirit. So
yeah, well, I've thought about writing another book, but just hadn't ever. It was more a bucket list thing. And, it was hard work. It really was.
I'm sure. A lot of details in that book.
But very, very excited that I did sell the movie rights, but unfortunately the movie never got made. Somebody, yeah, it was set to the Lifetime channel.
Oh, okay.
And so.
It would be a great movie.
Yeah, maybe somebody will pick it back up because I've got the rights back now. So.
Maybe one day, that'd be great. Well, I appreciate you being out here with me today.
Yeah, well, I've certainly
talk about the
enjoyed
book, and I'll continue to read it every couple years.
Oh,
and,
good.
You find something new every time you read it.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate it, and hopefully the mailbox will be there in another 30 years. So thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity. I really enjoyed it.
With Jim and Deb Boyce with the museum right now, and we're going to talk about what I call Turtle Patrol, but it's the Ocean Isle Beach Sea Turtle Organization. So thank you so much for being with me today.
You're welcome.
You've been doing this for a long time, correct?
19 years.
Wow. Tell me a little bit about the organization itself. Deb, I'll start with you.
Okay. Basically what it is Jim and I, 5 years ago, the previous coordinator retired, so the state asked us if we would take it over, because we'd been on the program for a total of 19 years as of right now, and we were used to doing everything, you know, and I guess they liked what we did, so Matthew Godfrey, the state coordinator, asked us if we would take it over, and without knowing how much paperwork was involved, we said, sure. And it's fun. I mean, there's a lot of paperwork. It's like any other government job. It's not through till the paperwork's done. But it's necessary. And, you know, we report on every nest, every egg in every nest. Volunteers report their hours as in kind, even though no one gets paid. It's the way the state has to have it to get federal funding and whatnot. So,
what is the organization's mission?
We have a documented mission that says our mission is to protect sea turtles that frequent Ocean Isle Beach, both the adults and the hatchlings, and just as important, to educate the people on the plight of the sea turtles. So it's a twofold mission.
Gotcha. And I got to experience this last summer for the first time. My mom and I just happened to be out walking one night, and it happened, and I had tears rolling down my face. I don't think people that haven't seen it, it is an amazing experience. So
I get goosebumps just talking about it.
I know. It is just an experience in itself, and that's why we're here today. Is we want our viewers to know the process. We want them to learn about the turtles so that hopefully they can experience that process one day. Tell me a little bit about the process itself, either one, of what happens when you're watching the turtles. I mean, it's a long process from day one to when they hatch. So let's go through that process.
Okay, I'll start and you can finish.
Okay.
What we do, nesting season is May through the end of August. And typically Ocean Isle Beach, we get our first nest in around the middle of May. But we start, in our area, we have a John Deere Gator that we have 2 volunteers every day of the week from May through the end of August that rides the beach at first light, looking for the mother's crawl, which is right up there, or
the mother itself.
Or the mother itself, because sometimes that happens. They're out and they see her still coming. Or sometimes we get calls in the middle of the night from visitors, from the police. No one is shy about calling us at all hours of the day. That's very good.
And we wouldn't have it any other way.
Right. But once so in the morning, if the volunteers come across to crawl, what they do is they contact us and they give us the address of the location on the beach to the nearest beach access. And we send a team of locator volunteers that are experienced in how to actually locate the nest, because what they do is we have to determine if, number one, if the mother did lay a nest. And how that's determined is a lot of times there's loose sand and thrown sand, which indicates that, yeah, she's been messing around in there. So we have to physically determine if it's a viable nest, meaning we actually dig down using rubber gloves, dig down until we locate the eggs. And once we locate the eggs, then we determine if that nest is in a safe location, meaning if it's far enough away from the high tide, if it's not in a low area on the beach, you know, anything like that, in front of somebody's steps or things like that. If it's in a safe place, we leave it alone. We put a grate of wire down and flag it off and put a sign there that it's a sea turtle nest and a nest sign, because we do have people that adopt nests.
From there, and a little expand on what Deb says, on the storyboard, these 5 pictures were actually taken of the same nest 2 years ago. This was the mother. We got a call from the police that the mother was coming in. We got there and she was just coming in. You can see it was still dark. These were her tracks the next day. This is actually a picture of her depositing her eggs after she dug her nest. And this is what the nests look like, as Deb was saying, with the thrown sand. Now you notice she laid right at the high tide line. And the eggs, the sea turtle eggs, are porous. They're not like a chicken egg. So if there is standing water and the water seeps down into the nest, it'll go into the shells and actually drown the embryo. So that's why we relocate them up into a higher, safer place. Like Deb says, this is the nest as we dug down and confirmed. She did lay eggs, although we saw her, so we knew. And this is her, body pit. Now from there, the normal incubation period on Ocean Isle Beach is about 50 days. But it's heat predicated. It's like the farmer used to put his heat lamps in the chicken coop. It's the same thing. Sand temperature dictates the length of incubation. We have had nest hatch out. Now they do not they hatch and stay in the nest 3 to 5 days, and they're actually absorbing their first meal, and that's their umbilical cord. They absorb the fluid from the umbilical cord as they're climbing to the top of the nest. When they absorb their umbilical cord, climb to the top of the nest, then they wait till the sand cools, because they're not like us. You know, they don't like to crawl on hot sand. Of course, that is when the sun goes down. And when the sun goes down, Mother Nature takes a major predator away, which is birds. So Mother Nature helps us out a lot when it comes to this. We have a team of nest parents that are trained at every nest. They're trained on how to get the babies as naturally as possible to the water. We don't want to try to disturb Mother Nature. And we also, they do a great job of educating the visitors. And like I said, the visitors are our secondary nest parents, because when we leave a nest at night that perhaps shows no signs of activity, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, these babies could hatch or could come out of the nest. And these and the local police department on Ocean Isle will watch for that. And if they see it, they call us. But the other good thing is, if they do come out 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, from where we either relocate or where the nest is naturally, with no people around, they have a clear shot to the beach if there's no external lighting to distract them. A full moon does not affect the hatching process, but boy, the full moon reflecting off the water with the whitecaps, which also will direct them into the water.
Interesting.
Then it's nature at its best. We really like that.
That's when
So
I get
we
chills.
are there.
Talking about that.
We are there primarily to counteract what man is doing, like artificial lighting, holes in the beach. You know, unfortunately, there are still people that like to poach eggs, and that's true in any wildlife.
Right.
So we're not there to change Mother Nature. We're there to protect Mother Nature and the natural process of the babies getting to the water.
And that's a long process.
Yeah.
It is.
So it takes y'all and a lot of volunteers. How many volunteers do you have? Just about, approximately.
It's hard to say because it varies so much, but typically about 30 or so core.
Very
And then-
active.
Yeah, very active. And then in the summertime with nest hatching, we recruit more because we like to have on average about 4 to 6 volunteers per nest, because it's not unusual to have anywhere from 2 to 3, 4, 500 people around a hatching at one time.
And if you're on the beach, you see your volunteers there, you see people standing around, you know what's happening.
Exactly.
And we train them to talk. You know, we don't want them just sitting there. You know,
Continue
we
to
train them to
educate.
get up and stand up and talk. If you know, if you're coming up on the beach or up to the nest site, we want them to go over and say, have you ever seen this before? And if they say no, then that's their opportunity to start educating and things. And we really, our goal, no matter whether we're on the beach, whether we're doing educational talks here at the museum or at the community center, at the concerts on Friday night in the summer, we do school outreaches, is to get especially the children involved, because as our motto is, and Jim,
I come up with that about 3 or 4 years ago. It is trademarked. It's in the process of being registered.
Wow.
But I think it says what we really mean by the second half of our mission statement, to educate the people, including the kids, to the plight of sea turtles and other species that are endangered.
Because our motto is today's kids are wildlife's future for tomorrow, and we're very proud of that. And we feel that no matter where we're at, if we can touch at least one child, we have achieved something.
And you're touching adults too. I mean,
Exactly.
it's an experience.
Yeah.
You were telling me before one of the special stories that you have. Tell us about this turtle right here.
Oh, okay. This is Obi. Deb and I were called to the beach in 2004, and Obi was stranded, and that's when a sick, dead, or injured sea turtle washes on shore. And Obi was just covered with barnacles, leeches, worms, parasites, very emaciated. You can see how fat it was.
Yeah.
We took him to the Karen Beasley Rescue and Rehabilitation Center, and about 2 years later, they released him. And you see they put, thanks to Progress Energy, put a satellite transmitter so they could see where she went, or he went. And in about 3 months, thinking it was a male because it was a big 400-pound sea turtle, when it was released,
400 pounds?
it had a long tail. Everybody thought it was a male. Well, 3 months later, it came in, I believe, to Bald Head Island and laid a nest. It was a female.
It was a female.
So that kind of blew that theory. But the thing the people say, why do you do that?
Yeah, this is.
Well, the rate of survival for sea turtles is very small. The most optimistic you can get is maybe 1 in 1,000. Realistically, it's probably 1 in 2, 3, 4,000. So because, and this is done by every island, it's not just Deb and I, but by taking this sea turtle, not knowing whether it's a male or female, to the hospital, they did a great job of rehabilitating. It went back in the water. Maybe one of her hatchlings made it to maturity. So that's why we do it.
That's why.
That is why we do
And
it.
as much satisfaction as we get out of watching the hatchlings make it to the water, it compares nothing to taking
release.
one of these up and being there
yeah.
to release them back into the wild.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what gives me the goosebumps.
Yes. Well, we want to also educate our viewers that are watching this too. What are some things that they can do, whether they're locals, they're tourists, they're people just learning about this process? What are some things that they can look out for to help the turtles survive?
Mainly whenever they're here at the beach, and especially we're talking about sea turtles, but this is anywhere, is trash. You know, we have trash receptacles, and any trash that is out there, you know, if you bring it to the beach with you, bring it off the beach. There's trash receptacles, because sea turtles, like any other animals, they're going to eat what they see. And a sea turtle's favorite food is jellyfish. So when they're out in the ocean, if, you know, they're seeing paper bags or plastic bags floating around, it represents a jellyfish to them. Or balloons. You know, a lot of people like to have birthday parties and let the balloons go. Well, you know, the old adage is whatever comes up's got to come down. And the balloons with those streamers to a turtle looks like the tentacles of a jellyfish. So they're going to start ingesting them until they get it in there. And then what happens is they cannot eat, they can't digest it, and they eventually starve to death.
I just learned about the balloons last year.
Here's a photo of a green sea turtle, deceased, X-ray, and there's a plastic bag and there's a balloon. So that's pretty vivid visual evidence that picking up trash can be a great help.
And it's things that you don't, just like the balloons. I learned that last year before Oyster Festival. One of our vendors wanted balloons. And somebody said to me, nope. And I said, what do you mean? And they said the turtles. And I had no idea. You don't think about things like that. And that's why y'all are here. So I do appreciate that.
So that, and even, you know, but basically any trash. You know, not, like I said, not just for sea turtles, but for everywhere.
Just good for the environment.
Just put it in a local trash can or take it home with you.
We were also talking earlier about one key fact about turtles that I had no idea about. So what is one thing on the turtles that you taught me that I had no idea they can hear? Their ears.
Oh, their ears, yes.
I had no idea they had ears.
Yes, sea turtles, the biologists have found, have ears. They have an eardrum, ear fluid, ear bone. And a good example of that is the skull that we use. Sea turtles do not have teeth.
This is a loggerhead skull.
This is a loggerhead skull. Actually, it was unfortunately taken this year from a sea turtle that washed up dead. So this is a local.
Here?
Yes. The nair, or the nose, the eyes, and there's the ears. And of course, the first question that comes up is, well, gee, if they have ears, how do they communicate? You know, like the whales and the dolphins chirp and moan and do all that. Well, how do the sea turtles communicate, talk to each other? And people will say, well, maybe they clap their flippers, or maybe they just make noises or something like that. It's too early. Nobody really knows how they communicate. But I have a theory on that. What do you think would? What do you think would? How they would talk to each other? If we were two sea turtles, how do you think we would talk to each other, since we can hear each other?
I don't know. I would say some kind of, like you said, some kind of motion that they do, that they are communicating with each other.
You could very easily be right, but my theory is, with all the electronics out there, I think they use their shell phone. Not their cell phone, their shell phone.
How many times have you heard that, Jim?
A lot of times.
You can tell we have fun.
Yes, that's
But
right.
we like to point out to the kids as well, because when they say, well, we can't see them, because if you look at the turtle, you cannot see them.
Right.
I said, well, their ears don't stick out from their heads like ours, you know.
There's a little indentation right there. And this is actually a preserved green sea turtle. And it has an interesting story also. We got a call about 4 years ago from a gentleman that said that he had one on his living room wall. He had it hooked on his living room wall. But he had some visitors that said that it was against the law because they're endangered, and in order to be in possession, you actually need an endangered species permit, which we always carry with us for that reason. And we went over and we said, gee, we would like it. And he said, well, I'd like to donate it. And I asked how, or we asked how he got a hold of it. And believe it or not, he bought this in the Philippines in 1945 when he was discharged from the Army coming
Wow.
home. So
Back then it wasn't illegal.
back then
Right.
it wasn't illegal. The Endangered Species Act didn't go into effect until 1973. So this has been invaluable to our educational programs because the kids can actually hold,
Absolutely.
pet, caress,
everything.
hug, look at the flippers, the little bitty tail. Now this sea turtle, the biologists say, was probably around 4 years old when it was preserved. So it
we
went
color
from
race
2.5 ounces to this size in 4 years, and then maybe to 400 pounds
Right.
in an additional 20 to 25 to 30 years when they reach maturity. So
That's
they eat
something
their
special
share of
that you have
stuff.
here.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Absolutely.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Well, I'm so glad we were here today, and I have learned a lot. What if our viewers, tourists, locals, children, what if they want to learn more? Can they come here to this turtle room? What can they do?
They can come into the museum, of course, and see we've got a great turtle display, which is a replica of a sand dune, and it's actually cut away in the back. You can underneath and see what a turtle nest would look like from inside. But we also have our website, which is oibcturtles.org. I'm
Turtles
sorry.
is plural.
Yeah, turtles.org, excuse me. And you go on there, and our website is all about Ocean Isle Beach. You know, you can go on a lot of websites. I think one time you Googled it, and there was like, how many millions of...
Well, I went on today and Googled sea turtles, and there were 10,500,000 sites you could go to.
Yeah. But our site is all about Ocean Isle Beach
Right.
and what happens here. And we have on there pictures of turtles and things. We have a volunteer program. You can write to us about volunteering. We do have an internship program that we do. We've done this now for 3 years, and it's beginning to get very successful. We try and get a marine biology type student out of college to come and do their internship with us. It's good on the resume.
That's wonderful.
It's not paying, but it's, you know, it's all volunteer. I'm trying to find it.
There's
lot.
lots of ways so they can get
Well,
involved.
and the other really neat thing is our Facebook page.
Yes.
Because
I
our
follow
Facebook
that.
page, including what you'll see, I think, a little bit later of a boil. There's one of those on our Facebook page.
Okay.
You'll see pictures of our volunteers when we close nests out. They're standing there very proudly that they had
Right.
a successful hatch, and other neat things that go on. The Oyster Festival, our
Yes.
booth, our
Yes.
educational booth there.
You're out in the community, definitely.
Well,
And of course,
that's
and
true.
I'll put a plug in for the Oyster Festival too, because you want to come to the Oyster Festival and see our booth, because you just might meet Lucy the
That's
loggerhead.
right. You've been there every year. Well, I greatly appreciate y'all talking to me,
thank you.
teaching me about the turtles, and I will continue to watch for them every summer. So I
Good.
greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And
You're
you
welcome,
don't know what a
Megan, and thank you.
pleasure this is to be able to once again get our story out to the
you.
public,
Yeah.
Thank you.
because that's very important.
We appreciate what you do.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.